So in this video, we'll look into HuggingFace Transformer.js library, which allow us to load a pre-trained model into the user's browser and use that for AI related inferences. So generally, if I have to build an AI related application, we use OpenAI or some similar hosted API endpoints for these inferences, and we have to pay for it. With HuggingFace, we can actually download one of their pre-trained specialized model and use that for inferences, right? So in this video, we'll build this small application, which is a text classification application. For example, if I write something like, I love HuggingFace, as you can see, this is a positive sentiment and this is the score, right? And if I write something like, I hate HuggingFace, now this is a negative sentiment and this is the score. So we will implement this end-to-end using the HuggingFace Transformer.js library, right? You can also download the code in the description. You will see a GitHub link for the code also, right? So before we start implementing it, let's look into the Transformer.js docs, right? So in the Transformer.js docs, as you can see, they have how to use it section and how to load it section, install it and everything. And then they also have the list of models available for each task, right? So they have models for pretty much lot of things, and we are interested into the text classification, right? So in the text classification, if I look into the available models, and now here we can see all the available models for the text classification. So this HuggingFace model repository is more or less like NPM for pre-trained models, right? So here, if I see this is the model we are going to use, here we can go and we can see like how to use it, what are the files in the model, and if I look into it, it's around 70 MB data that we need to be able to download into the user's machine also, right? So you get like a basic understanding of the model, and we see like all the different models, what are their pros and cons, right? Yeah, so that's it. And let's look into the code and see how we can implement it. So the first step is we just install the Next.js application. Just select everything which is default. And once it is downloaded, we can run the npm run dev, and let's see. So our application is running. We can remove all the necessary code comes with it and just say hello world. We also doesn't need this. We can also get rid of all the CSS and everything, and we have simple hello world application, right? Now let's install the HuggingFace library and see how we can use it. So in order to install it, first we need to install the package. So this is the HuggingFace Transformer.js package, and we need to update our Next.js config to tell the Next.js that these packages that we are installing are browser only, so don't run it on the Node.js. This is coming from HuggingFace docs also. So with that, we are ready to actually start using the HuggingFace in our application, right? And the easiest way to do it is we can define this as a client component, and we can use an use effect. Right? And let's see if we can instantiate a HuggingFace model here and load it, right? So here is the code for this. So HuggingFace gives us like a lot of different level of abstraction, not a lot, but few different level of abstraction. The highest abstraction is the pipeline, right? So in the pipeline, what we do is we just define like what kind of task we are going to perform and which model we want to use it. We can even remove the model and it will kind of take a default model for us, but we'll define our model. This is the model we want to use, and this is the task we want to perform, right? And with that, we can actually pass like this is my string and this is the output, and we can log the output, and we can test it out like whether this works or not, right? What it should be doing is it should first download the model for the first run only, and then cache it and then use it for the next time onwards, the same model, instead of downloading it again and again. Okay, let's see if this works. And if I refresh it, Pipeline is not defined because I didn't imported it. Let me just import it. Let's see. So as you can see, this is already giving me the negative, like this is the sentiment and this is the score. It is working, but it didn't actually downloaded this model in the first go. It just used it because maybe it was already inside my cache. So let me just delete my cache so we can see like how does it look like when it goes for the first time, right? So if I refresh it now, so as you can see, it start downloading this and it is downloading it for the first time. And it has downloaded this. So if you look into the request and response, as you can see, this is being cached. This is being cached for these many seconds, probably a week. And also it has a E tag. So if the model changes, then it can be updated that way, right? This is just a hash of the model that is being downloaded. Perfect. And if I see, this is going to be stored inside my application, inside my cache, and this is where it is being stored with almost like 70 MB data, right? So this is the first time it is being used, and after that it start giving me the inferences, start giving me the classification, this is negative and whatever, right? And if I give it like a different text that I love transformer, and if we reload it, as you can see, this is a positive sentiment and this is the score, right? And it has been cached, it didn't download it again. We can just directly use it for inferences, right? And this is how easy the Hugging Face has made it, right? This is like super easy. We just use the pipeline, we just tell what task we need and just pass the input, and this is how we get the output. We can also go another step deeper and we can use more lower level components to do the same thing, but in this video we are just interested to see how to use on a more higher level, how to use it more abstract level, right? Perfect. But we cannot really do this way because this is like a very computationally expensive, and we cannot kind of hog the main thread. So we have to run it into the web worker if you want to use it in the production, if you want to really use it, right? So for that, we'll just quickly implement the whole thing into the web worker and see how does that look, right? So for me to run it on the web worker, all we have to do is we just need to create worker.js. Inside the worker.js, I will just import my pipeline. Here I defined something like environment allow local modes false. This is basically also coming from the Hugging Face documentation. This is basically telling that don't look for the model into the local file system. Yeah, it is going to be downloaded and cached. Now, what we have to do now, we have to move this code, the pipeline code, into the worker, right? So the way we do it is we kind of create a singleton object, right? If this code looks weird, just stay with me. Basically what we are doing is just using the same thing, but we don't want to create this instance again and again. So we just use the self-invoking function. Inside this, we just create an instance once. And we call this get instance whenever we need the instance. So if there is no instance, it will create once, but if there is an instance, then it will just use it, right? It's a simple I think this is the simplest way to implement this singleton pattern. And this is what we are doing just to avoid recreating this object again and again, right? And now we can actually test it out, right? We can just create our instance and we can actually, so again, this is not going to return me the normal object. I would probably need something like self-invoking function, or we can just do the same thing we have done there, right? And here I would do my instance, and here I will just log, right? Perfect. And let's see if this works, and then we run this. So now we need to load this worker into the main thread now. So how we do this is basically we can get rid of all this, and we just keep a reference of the worker. Again, we don't want to create the worker again and again. And inside the use effect, we just invoke the worker, right? So basically, if there is no reference of the worker, we will just add it. So if the worker is not in the current, we'll just add the worker. And let's see if this works. I have to add the use ref here. Perfect. Let's see if it works. So it should actually load my worker, and it should instantiate the object, and it should actually print out that message we have been printing it out. I love transformer, right? And we can just also make a mark that this is a worker log. Perfect. Let's see. Instance 1 is not a function. So here we go. Now we have the worker log, and as you can see, we are still doing the same thing, but instead of doing it on the main thread, we are actually doing it on the worker thread, right? And from here we can actually implement, like, we don't want to hard code it, of course, this message, so we have to send it from the main thread, we have to process it into the worker thread, and we have to send it back to the main thread, right? So how we do that? Very quickly. So what we can do in the worker, we add actually an event that whenever a message comes from the main thread, invoke a pipeline.get instance and then run a classifier. The text is going to be provided from the main thread, right? And once you are done, then send a message that complete with the output, right? Perfect. So now the worker thread is listening for the message. We have to send this message from the main thread though. So let's see how we send it from the main thread. So we just send the worker.current.post message and the text, right? And the text could be something like, I love Hugging Face, right? So now again we should be printing it, I love Hugging Face, but it is not going to be hard coded in the worker.js. We are actually listening a message from the main thread and kind of outputting it out here. Let's see. Perfect. So we are getting the worker output and we are getting the message. Perfect. As a final step, what we have to do is we have to actually listen the message that is coming from the worker in the main thread again and then display it, right? So for that, what we can do is in the main thread, we have to listen to the messages coming out of the worker thread, right? So what we need to do for that is that's it. We are listening to the message from the worker and we are invoking this message received. Whenever the message received, just console.log this and we can log it. This is a main thread. And of course, we also want to put something like, we don't want to leave these zombie event handlers. So whenever we are unmounting this component, we just unmount the event handler as well, right? And with that, our implementation is done actually. We should be able to send any message from the main component and the worker will process it and send it back and we just print it out here, right? Let's see. Now as you can see, now we are printing out from the main thread and we are printing out whatever message we are being processed. In the final demo, as you can see it in the GitHub link, I added a little bit more UI so that it looks a little bit better and you can try it with the different messages. For example, let's say if we try something from Goodreads, let me take some book and let's see if how well this performed by using a real data. So this is like a negative feedback, right? Let me just copy it and see if our app can predict. This is a negative. This is a negative feedback, right? This is a negative sentiment, and with a pretty high accuracy, with a pretty high confidence, it is telling us this is a negative sentiment. If we use something like This seems to be positive. If I copy this and if I put it here, this is a positive sentiment with this much certainty, right? So you can see this is a very interesting approach, right? We are using it in a user's browser and we are using the user's machine's computation to do the inferences, right? And as the models are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, this could be a very viable approach. I can actually implement this into, let's say, in a contact box, the same functionality, right? If somebody's writing a negative sentiment, somebody's writing a negative feedback or negative complaint or something like this, I can use this model to send it to some other email, right? Like a support email or complaint email. If the message is positive, we can send it to the C-level emails, right? So something like that. We can use it in a very different way. And this is just one model and small demo. In the HuggingFace.js, there is just a lot of different type of tasks that we can perform with a lot of different models. And as the AI is getting smaller and smaller, these models are getting smaller and smaller. This is a very viable option to include in your web apps. So thank you very much for watching it. If you are still watching it till the end, please do subscribe. And if you have any special requests for AI related videos for a web developer, I would love to see it in the comments. And see you.